Welcome back to Hiring America from the SHRM Annual Conference and Exposition in Washington, D.C. We're joined now by Dr. Brian Griepentrog, an industrial organizational psychologist and presently Senior Vice President of ForsMarsh Group. Throughout his varied career, Brian has focused on modeling human decision-making and predicting factors relating to military retention. Brian, thanks so much for joining us.
Nice to be here.
What is an industrial organizational psychologist?
It's a good question. We get it a lot. It's an individual that focuses on the well-being and performance of individuals, groups, and organizations.
What do you do at ForsMarsh?
At ForsMarsh, we do a little bit more broader work than just IO psychology, but largely it is predicting the behavior of customers, of employees, and in fact stakeholders. So sometimes we're even doing work with voting and election administration, and so we're dealing with citizens.
You write the surveys that the service members take?
Correct.
What is that like?
It's a lot of fun. I mean, we'll always talk about a theory, and we try to develop a survey instrument around a theory. And so we're trying to, again, we talk about modeling behavior. We're looking to really understand those psychological determinants of people's behavior.
Share some of your research on veterans.
Well, a lot of the work that we've done with veterans has actually been further upstream when they're actually making a decision to join and enlist in the military. And a lot of that has been with the Department of Defense. And their interest is examining why individuals join the military, how likely they are to join the military, and some of those reasons why they might not join, because that gives the military services a lot of information on better understanding the likelihood at which people will join and the extent to which they need to change their messages and get a better understanding of this youth market.
And what have you found?
Well, what we found is that a lot of individuals join because of a kind of a family heritage. A lot of folks join because there is value consistency, that they see the military as a good representation on how they view the world.
What have you found helps them succeed while they're in the military?
Well, I can definitely say what helps them succeed in terms of being in and kind of re-enlisting and having longer retention and longer careers. That idea of having value consistency is something that some of my colleagues have found is really one of those big key contributors to actually re-enlisting after your first term.
What have you found either helps or hinders a veteran in the transition, if anything?
This idea of not just the initial tools to better understand how my skills translate, but to also have some of those onboarding programs, the training and career development. Those are aspects of the military service that are key and central, and things that sometimes in the civilian sector are lacking. And so organizations that have those are organizations that succeed.
We often talk about challenges that veterans face when they're trying to hop into the job market, but what about challenges HR professionals face when trying to recruit veterans?
Sure. Well, I think just like veterans, HR employers have a hard time understanding how skills translate. So when they see someone's service and they see what position or military occupational specialty they had, they don't know what skills come along with it. And sometimes on the resume, it's not clear how those skills translate into that civilian workforce. So that's one of the big ones. But even beyond that, I think there's sometimes an anxiety of what is our organizational climate in this organization and how similar or different is that from maybe something in the military.
You spent a lot of time doing research. What's been the most surprising thing that you've discovered in terms of veterans?
Well, I think that idea of family is probably the biggest. One, how many new recruits have an aunt, uncle, sister, brother that has served is just astounding to me because it continues to be something that families pass on to one another.
Do you think that's a number one motivating factor for them to join?
I think that is definitely one of the strongest factors, but also the sense of family and that purpose that they have when they're in the military.
What are some of the factors that you found motivate a service member to either transition out or re-enlist?
It's a Department of Defense survey called the Prior Service Survey, and one of the big factors is this concern of work-life balance. A lot of individuals that enlist in the military might be 19, 20 years old, and when they're able to transition out, they are now in a position where maybe they have a wife, maybe they have a husband, maybe they just had their first child, and so it's a big change in life. And so when they're looking to come out, a lot of those concerns revolve around the family.
What else should HR managers do to make veterans feel more comfortable once they're in the door at a workplace?
Once you get them in the door, there needs to be a lot of expectation management. What is this going to be like? How is it going to be similar or different from your past job? Even these ideas of proteges and mentorship programs are really important to continually set those expectations for the future.
Are you working on any new studies pertaining to veterans?
We are continuing a number of really important tracking studies. One of those being the Transitioning Veterans Survey out of Defense Manpower Data Center. Another is the Prior Service Study. And what's really important is that we can track to see some of the difficulties, the challenges and opportunities, things that are getting better, getting worse, and really those will be important for HR professionals to keep their eye on.
Brian, thanks so much for joining us here on Hiring America.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.